Okay, thank you. Next topic will about supply chains innovation for sustainable food logistics by Prof. Kune MuhTsai, National Kaohsiung University of Science and Technology Management College. This session will be led by our moderator, a lecturer from the Agricultural Technology Department, Mr. Muhammad Wahyudin, BP Magister Science. Before that, I will read the amazing CV from Mr. Wahyudi first. Operator, can you help me show? Oh, okay. So, Mr. Muhammad Wahyudin is the lecturer from Department of Agroindustrial Technology, Faculty of Agricultural Technology, Universitas Gadjah Mada. He has several education. First, a bachelor in Agroindustrial Technology, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Master in Agroindustrial Management, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Doctor in Marketing Management, National Kaohsiung University of Science and Technology. And for the research, in 2016, marketing channel and consumer intention to purchase instant chocolate beverage 2020, redline of traditional retailer to apply a marketplace technology in the COVID-19 pandemic era. 2020, developing kios rakyat mobile store, retail business innovation based on people economy in era industry 5.0, and 2021, analysis of e-commerce performed on food and agricultural product MSMES. And the professional organization 2005 until present in Agroindustrial Technology Professional Association, and 2017 until present International Association of Industrial, and Hunter and Award in 2016, the Best Author of Research Proposal through Central Java and Yogyakarta by LPPM UGM, and 2018, accompanying lecture for finalist team of PIMNAS National Student Scientific Competition 31. And without waiting any longer, to Mr. Wahyudin, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the MC. Hi guys, how are you today? Yeah, it's 6 or 5 days on the summer course, and today we would like to discuss and have a presentation from the experts of the supply chain innovation for sustainable food logistics. I think sustainable supply chain is becoming important today for the not only for the food but also for the whole of agro-industry, I think. So that's why then we invited the experts on supply chain management, innovation, and so on. He is Professor Kune MuhTsai. How are you, Professor? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, long time no see you, Professor.
Yeah, long time no see. Yeah. I'm looking
because
forward
you are very
to
busy.
seeing you. Yeah. Well, I'm traveling right now, so actually I'm in a hotel. Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, because we know that you are very busy and you are traveling right now. Guys, Professor MuhTsai is an expert in supply chain management. We can see that, and even his schedule is very tight, but he still want to accompany you to discuss and have learned much more about the supply chain today. Operator, can you help me to show the TV of Professor Sai? Yeah, guys, he's very expert on this topic. He's he's the dean of the of the College of Management in previous era, 2000. Hold on. Yeah, until 2021, isn't it, Professor? And then right now, is becoming right now is becoming visiting professor Technical University of in Applied Science in Germany, and he's always traveling on German. So even he in traveling, but he still want to join and give us the lecture in this afternoon. He got the PhD from the Department of Industrial Engineering in Purdue University, USA, in 1994, and then he has a lot of research project here. 17 research projects from the governance. Wow, it's amazing. And also approximately 50 industrial projects. I think his projects also relate with the cold chain or supply chain management. He has a lot of project here, and the nominal is fantastic. The USD 3.5 million in 6 years. Cold chain innovation and smart commerce in Taiwan. It's come from Ministry of Education. Okay, for you guys, I think it's the best opportunity for you guys to learn a lot from the experts this afternoon. Okay, Prof. Sai, the time is yours to give your presentation.
Okay, Eugene, thank you for your introduction. Yeah, it's my great pleasure and honor to be here to participate at your
Excuse me, Professor.
let me see. So I have to share from here, right? The course material. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So I will share my material. Okay. Okay. So Eugene, if there's problem when I switch the PPT, please let me know because sometimes
No,
I
it's
don't know
clear. It's
why.
clear, Professor.
Okay.
You can go
Okay.
on.
All right. Okay. It's my great pleasure to participate at your summer course, and I think that I only have about an hour for my course, and then we will have some discussion.
All right.
So, okay. So you can see it has changed the page, right? The problem
Right.
along the okay. The problem along the fresh food cold supply chain, and this is the first topic I want to share with you. You know, along the food supply chain, you know, from production, storage to consumption, you know, for the fresh food value chain, you know, what we as consumer or business partner, you know, what we really usually act for are about, you know, food safety, and if, you know, our request and response can be very quickly responded, and if the food we have are fresh and they have long shelf life, and for consumers or even retailers, you know, what we ask for are also if we can have a lot of choices, you know, to choose from. And of course, they should be from the with the reasonable price. And in order to achieve all these goals, we need to have a well-managed fresh food chain. And what do I mean by well-managed? It means that we need to have a good management system as well as with a lot of technology, to be involved there. And then we can have a good fresh food chain, and then we can try to achieve all these goals that we ask for of food supply chain, fresh food supply chain. And but what are the problems from farm to table? There are some of them. Here I mentioned I participate. No, I partition them into three parts. The first is about unbalanced produce production, and the second is if we have efficient, production and also logistic. And about this part, we usually have a lot of shortage for the manpower. And the third is co-logistic service and traceability. And for the embedded produce production, I think that this is what usually happens that makes there's imbalance between demand and supply. And so if we can have a system that can coordinate between fruit, vegetable production and the consumption, not only in quantity, but also in the assortment. And we can also allow, and then, we can and then if we can have a good coordination, we can allow the company to have more time to respond to the imbalance. And if we do not do the coordination, what usually happens is when there's a problem, you either have to suffer from low price or a shortage of supply. So this is the problem we should do in advance to prevent the problem to happen. And in order to do that, we need to have a good system that can link between production and the consumption altogether. And the second is about, we talk about the efficiency. And to manage a fresh food supply chain, what we can do is we can apply a lot of AIoT technology in there, for a lot of like, produce production situation, the environment situation, and also do the AI calculation to see that, how the produce might grow and how much we can reap later on when they are mature. And also during the logistic, if we can have some autonomous machine to help, and then we can achieve labor saving. And traceability is usually required for many in many countries. In Taiwan, we have some good system, for agriculture or for the agro products as well. And with traceability, we can achieve good quality and safety and to build the customer faith. So if we put the three problems along the fresh food supply chain, then we can see from here, from planter to supplier to processing, packaging, storage, and channels. And the first problem I mentioned is here that we need to find a balance between the supply and demand. And usually they are either have over or under production. For example, it happened also in Taiwan, for some of the produce about vegetables in that even though that they know if I grow, there will be too much at the end, when they are reaped. But the farmer cannot stop their desire to grow more food. And then at the end of the day, when they are harvest and in the market, the price just collapse because of too much produce. And when there's a natural disaster or something happen, they could have, underproduction. And at that time, the price will just go up. And at the end, end side of consumer, they cannot get enough produce supply, from the planter. So these are all about unbalanced supply and demand. And actually, each year around the world, it happens all the time. It happens all the time, especially when there are restrictions about import and export. And for the supplier, planter, they will give their produce to the supplier. They don't grow, but they own a lot of produce. They have to face a lot of seasonal change and risk as well. And for the channel buyers, they will make a lot of frequent sales call because the market situation might change. And for the processing and packaging, uh, there is a lot of processing variance and also because of insufficient supply, and they can create a lot of problems. And also, if you do not have uh, good temperature control for your fresh food, and then you might end up with too much waste. And also for the storage and distribution, and it takes a lot of manpower. So it could happen is you might have insufficient manpower. And also for the channels, you might have stagnant sales and short shelf life. So for this, we need to have good system, and for this part, we need to use a lot of technology like IoT or automation. And let's give a little bit of background about food and also the cold supply chain. Actually, a significant share of food intended for human consumption is lost or wasted from farm to fork. It was estimated to about 1/3 of the food will be wasted. And not just food is wasted, but because of the wasted food, they created another problem of global warming emissions like CO2 equivalent. And it was estimated the global food production, they generate about 26%, and some said it is 1/3. And thinking of about 1/3 of the food is wasted, you multiply them together. So wasted food might contribute to about 8%, to 10% of the greenhouse gas, which is quite amazing. All the car we drive, they also have about equivalent greenhouse gas. So, that's a lot of greenhouse gas that we are wasted because of not improper manage of our food. And this is just give you a brief introduction about the seafood. They also have supply chain. For the production, and the first is we need to have also to have technology support for the resources, and from production, collection, preparation, and distribution, and then to our sales. So this is a brief graph about the seafood supply chain. And let's come back to the food value chain, a lot of food is wasted or lost, along the entire supply chain from production to consumption. And this is, we can divide it, the food loss into those in developing country and those in developed country. And as you can see here, the dark blue represent the food loss in developing country, and the yellowish they represent in food loss in developed country. As you can see, there's a big difference. And in the developing country, a lot of food loss is due to lack of cold chain knowledge and services. So you can have a lot of loss here and here and there. And in developed country is mainly in consumption. Actually, they are quite efficient, in the production and logistics, but not in consumption, because almost 1/3 of the food is lost in the consumption. So you go to a restaurant, you don't finish all your food, and you buy something back and put in the refrigerator, but you forgot them. And then at the end of the day, you have to throw them away. So all these kind of waste. And actually, in the Western world, they are trying to reduce them. They know the problem. So they are, in some communities, they are establishing some food sharing mechanism that if you have some food that is going to be expired, you can give it away in some places, and for those who need them, they can take them back. But they are only in some small community, but they cannot help too much. And about the food losses, if we look at into more of the regional areas, North America, many U.S. and Canada, industrial Asia, okay, and Europe, as you can see that for those that are richer and developed area, the consumption loss has higher percentage. Okay, so this also give us some idea that there are a lot of room for loss prevention. But we should do them differently. In developed country, we have to give them some idea that how we can prevent the food loss from consumption side. And in the developing country, and then we can think of investing more about coal supply chain idea and logistic. Okay, and then we can we can reduce the percentage of loss. And here I give you a little bit of introduction to the coal supply chain. So what is coal chain logistics? There are some questions. A lot of ice cream, we take them back, they become soft and icy, on the top of it. And some of the food, especially like milk, they might get rotten before the expiration date, especially in the summer. When a logistic provider, they are shipping the milk, they might leave the milk on the ground, for too long, not in the proper temperature for too long. And for those milk, when you buy them back, they could be fresh in the first few days, 2 or 3 days, but after 3 or 4 days, the taste began to change, and it's going to, get rotten very soon. And when you go to some some retailer, for some of the packages, frozen fish or meat, you might see some frost on the surface or ice in the package. And actually, you might also have encountered the problem that some of the imported food actually it is fresher than the local food, especially in the aqua products. Okay, for those like fish or some of the produce from the water, they are fresher, for those imported and packed. And while some of the vegetables they become soft and rotten inside, even though their outside looks good. Actually, all these problems are about temperature. If you do not have good temperature control all the way, and then all these problems they would uh, occur. And cold chain management, from the principle actually is very easy. You just have to maintain the temperature as they should be all the way, along the whole value chain of the food. But what happened in reality is even the principle is very easy, but it's very hard to achieve because and why are the problems? It is a lot of the problem from the interfaces because for the food, from production to the consumption, the food pass through a lot of hands of the people. They might belong to the same company or they belong to different organizations as well. And all this created a lot of interfaces, or even for a worker themselves, if they do, multiple process along the value chain, they might sometimes forget what they are doing because they are cramped with too much work. So, interfaces is usually a lot of problem, for uh, for the food to be in improper temperature or humidity, and also sometimes it is because of the neglect or not enough knowledge, and so the worker they handle something, but they just leave the food there for too long, forgetting or put them in the fresh in the storage, for they forgot to put them there, in a short time, and that created a lot of cold chain breakage. And with the breakage, the food will not be kept fresh and they will be deteriorated. So there are a lot of challenges along the food, fresh food supply chain. And yeah, so this is what I want to share with you, that with a lot of parties, along the chain, there could be a lot of possibility that the cold chain breakage could happen. And for the food, I think that you should have already know this, and usually we can divide it, the low temperature food into 3 classifications. The first is like cool food, and these are like chocolate, rice ball, some of the ready-to-eat food. And chill food, they are what we see in a refrigerator or in the cooler of a retailer, and like meat, fish, shrimp, milk, tofu, etc. And frozen food, usually they are stored below minus 18 degree, like frozen meat, frozen prepared food, etc. And to store food fresh for a longer time, temperature control is the most important and actually economic way to preserve them, because when the temperature goes down, the microorganism will freeze to stop. Okay, and when we have a low temperature environment, for the food, those food can be kept fresh, and they can maintain their color and taste as well. Most microorganisms, they grow very fast between 20 to 40 degrees, and they grow much slower, between 3 to 10 degrees. That is why if we keep the temperature lower, and then the microorganism and some of the chemical reaction inside will be slowed down, and then we can keep the food fresh for a longer period of time. And when the temperature goes down to -12, only specific microorganisms they might grow, and below -12, in general, no microorganism will grow. So actually, when we set the temperature for frozen food to be -18 degrees, actually that is quite a good number, -18 degrees. With that, we can keep food fresh for usually from -18, we set it as 6 months. But if we can keep them to -35 or even 50, 60, we can keep a lot of seafood for 2 or 3 years, and they are just as fresh as they are harvested. And for aquatic food, as temperature goes up by 3 degrees, the quality will deteriorate twice faster, and shelf life become only only about a half. And also, when the temperature is fluctuating, like between -18 and 12, we might think that, well, below 12 degrees, it is usually good for microorganisms not to grow. But actually, for food, not only microorganism is what we're concerned, we also concerned about some of the enemy inside, chemical reaction, and also some of the physical tissues. I think that many of you are the expert in these areas. And so if we have some of the fluctuating change of the temperature, even between -18 to -12, they are going to deteriorate much faster than if we keep them stable at -12. So, actually, the reason I want to talk about this is in Taiwan, actually, the same problem happens in many of the countries, that when you are doing the home delivery of the frozen food, do you think that you can keep the food at -18 all the time? It's almost impossible. Even though your truck storage is at -21, okay, you put them at the temperature very low. When you open the door, all the temperature will be gone, and it will the temperature will rise. So it's very hard to keep the food in the environment that is -18. So actually, in some of the country, they are more practical, and they think that when they are in storage, they have to be kept at -18. But when they are in transport, they allow them to be -15 or -12. But in Taiwan, the problem is, a lot of scholars, they also insist, the -18 is required, even though it's not achievable. So actually, I propose, we should, in some of the regulation during the short transportation time, we should keep the temperature below -12 instead of -18 to make it more feasible. And so this is the temperature required for frozen food along the supply chain, for many of the countries. In Taiwan, as you see, that it's all -18, and WHO, US, EU, in Australia, they are quite practical because they know it's almost impossible. So after the sale, after they have left the storage, the temperature they allow them to be -12. Of course, the shelf life will be shortened. Yeah, and EU they allow at -15. Yeah, so some of the area they are more practical, and WHO they say, well, it's okay at -15, and for retailing -12 to -15. So I think that in Taiwan is quite impractical because that's impossible to achieve. Yeah, but the regulation is still set at the temperature. And let me see about the time. Okay. A little bit introduction about cold storage, and for cold storage with temperature between 0 to 7, we can with the stable temperature we can keep foods food life longer. And for vegetable and fruits, after the harvest, they are still alive and they continue breathing, but they will go through the metabolism process, and actually it's an aging process, and from maturity to aging. And we also with low temperature, we have to control the physiology process to make it slow down, and we should control, put more CO2 there with less oxygen, and have better humidity control, and then we can keep the vegetable and fruit fresher in there. And for the seafood, if we put the seafood in low temperature, we can preserve the enzyme and also mitigate their chemical reactions and the growth of microorganisms, for them to stay fresher. And why frozen process affect the food quality? As food is frozen, the temperature goes through a freezing process, and this is it shows different speed of the freezing process for the quick freezing and regular freezing. Regular freezing is like when we buy something from the market, we put them in the freezer of our refrigerator. This is usually what it shows, and this is from most of the certified industry processor. They usually have the equipment for the quick freezing process. And if we can freeze the produce quickly, more quickly, we can the food inside will have a smaller ice crystal. So this is what we can see. This is the normal tissue for meat. And when we have quick frozen, what we see is the ice crystal inside is very small. But if we put them in the freezer, like in our home, And this is what will have. The ice crystal become very large. So as you can see, when they thaw, a lot of tissue fluid will be lost. So that is why a lot of seafood when they are thawed, uh, the size of the seafood shift, and the taste is not as good as before. But if we can have like a quick frozen process, and the food would be very fresh, when they are thawed, cooked, and prepared. And so this is a lot of frozen food. It is suggested we buy from those industrial packaging company, because they usually have the quick freezing equipment there. And also the other problem for the fresh food cold chain is pre-cooling. And pre-cooling is very important, but not many farmer producer, they have the idea uh, for the pre-cooling, because when they harvest, they might harvest before the dawn, and they think that there's still some dew there, and the temperature is low. But if they harvest early, and they can have some pre-cooling process, they can keep the vegetables or fresh food fresh for longer period of time. Because after the produce is harvested, they have to go through a lot of freezing process, and they will evaporate, and a lot of ethylene inside is going to have some reaction, and they will keep growing. And also microorganisms inside, they will be keep growing, and they will create some others, and it's going to get it rotten. So all these problems can be prevented if we can have a pre-cooling process. So it's actually is to maintain freshness, after harvest. That is the best way. Remove the field heat, slow down respiration rate, reduce dehydration, and also refrain from microorganisms to grow, and avoid anthony to produce. Most anthony is the most appropriate temperature is between 16 to 21. So we put them lower, put the temperature lower, and then we can avoid them to grow. And this is just a brief idea about what is pre-cooling process. And like, in some of the company, they are use crushed ice for the pre-cooling. They might use ice and water to to put the product submerged, and they can use air cooling as well, and also the vacuum cooling, as we can see at the right hand side. And vacuum cooling is a very good way to cool vegetables. Yeah, and because when the environment is almost at the vacuum situation, the air is only about 5% or 3%. Even in the cabbage, what is inside will be evaporated. A lot of dews or some vegetable or some humidity inside, they will evaporate, and they can bring the temperature from the heart of a cabbage. A cabbage very big. They can be brought with vacuum cooling. I think this is probably the best solution for those produce like cabbage or napa, the same. And the besides all those facilities or equipment, we also need to have a good software, warehouse management system, and to manage the fresh storage, because when we put the IoT around at the corners of the warehouse, we can look at that and have a good temperature control and monitoring. And with WMS, we can meet the use by days and manage it shelf life. Because in reality, when you have a lot of produce, come in from a lot of producers, we usually have a batch number for each batch of the input, and they have different expiration days. So when you have to ship them out, you have to manage their shelf life. Those who is going to expire earlier have to be shipped out earlier. And if you do not have a good management system, a lot of time you will be mixed up. And at the end of the day, you will end up with a lot of food that they cannot be sold anymore. And also with WMS, we can have traceability and manage a lot of product recalls. And we can assure the process is compliance with regulation like HACCP, and with WMS, we can look into the product characteristic to avoid and prevent the cross-contamination problem to happen. So how can technology and management help with cold supply chain? And this is the first is monitoring and traceability in cold food chain. From deep frozen to fresh, to hot. All those temperature ranges, we can have a temperature monitoring. It's not a monitoring, they are from the low to high, but at each point here, we have to monitor them if they keep the temperature as they should be. So for the example of the cold chain from farm to table, we need to have a temperature along the chain to be monitored and changed. So from farm to processing to distribution to retailing to consumer, all these have to be traced. And actually, for fresh food, low temperature is the key, and the low temperature have to be always there. We do not want to see any breakage, here or here and there. If there any breakage for even a short period of time, the food quality will be affected. And also, there are many, supervision technology, to be cope with the traceability in Taiwan. We have a lot of good system, especially electronic devices, and we put them in a cloud system and integrate them all together. A lot of readers, donkeys, sensors, etc. Taiwan produce all these devices, and they can be used in the manufacturing side, in the fleet management, in warehouse, and also at the retailer side. And the temperature, ideally, for a company, actually, this is what you can do. If you have all these devices, you can have a cloud system, and you just upload all those temperature records to the clouds, and at the back end, you can look into all the temperature if there's some breakage there, and and if the breakage, you can look into why there's a breakage, and in the environment, etc. And then you can try to prevent them, with some of the analysis. But the first step is you need to have some devices. So I think that all the devices is around, so you can buy from them. But the most important thing is you have to build them into a system and to have a good management system, to cooperate uh, with the hardware and software. And right now AI has obtained a lot of attentions, and actually they can be used in cold chain as well. In Taiwan, some organization they are using this technology as well. So like standardization, systemization, visualization, and AI, they can all be used. And in cold chain logistic, this is just a standard recommendation, at the beginning. You need to have storage, vehicle, container, etc. And then when you move a step further, you look into the quality supervision problems. Okay, and then you look into the cloud warehousing management system, transportation system together. And with AI assistant, with all those data in the clouds, you can do some analysis and also some of the background data. For example, a different produce, they require different temperature and humidity. And there are also some suggested temperature for distribution and suggested that some of the produce cannot be shipped together with the other. Okay. And with some AI algorithm, we can do the demand forecast, to try to match the demand and supply, and also the storage configuration, picking scheduling, and transportation scheduling, etc. So all these, can be is possible. It's possible, and actually, some of the company in Taiwan they are implementing the system into their cold chain management. And I think this is related to hardware, and it's not that difficult. Many of the country they can do their own. They can have storage truck, and for refrigeration, insulation, etc. They can keep the body firm, and the temperature there can be sustained, much longer to reduce the energy consumption. A lot of people are saying that, well, cold chain is a very energy consumption industry. Yes, it is. But actually, if you have very good insulation, insulation is very important. And then if your construction of the warehouse or the vehicle, storage is constructed very well, you do not need a lot of, energy, to pump the temperature down. Actually, so insulation is very important, but this is the problem most of the industry have neglected. At the beginning, they might have bought something very good, but after a few years of usage, there's a bump here and there, and a lot of material they're going to absorb a lot of humidity inside, and the uh, insulation will be gone. So I think that for most of the industry, if they want to save the energy, they should look into the installation. If they are maintained well. If they are not maintained well, they should spend the money and repair it, or make it new. Okay. And if you are a startup, there could be some of the devices, like cold packed cold boxes and cold container for you to use. They are low in price, and if you do them well, they can work very well. For example, the cold storage, they can keep the temperature for almost a day, 24 hours. And for refrigerated, they can keep it for 2 days as well, if it's possible. And there's no power, they might use cold pack, for the cold container, and they can be kept for a very long period of time. And for this plastic refrigerated cold container, they can keep the temperature for about 8 hours, etc. And actually, what I want, when I was in Germany, there's a Edeka. I'm not sure if you know the company. That is the largest retailer in Germany. And in the truck, when they ship the product to the retailer, they don't use, frozen truck storage. They only use the cold containers. They really surprised me. So, in the truck, they have multiple temperature control, and as I see, there's three. One is the one is normal temperature. The other is for vegetables. There's around 5 degrees, 3 degrees, and the other is minus 21. That's for frozen food, and they are shipped with cold container like that. And what they told me is they had to travel around because they have to ship all those produce to different retailer in a region about 300 kilometers. So it might take them more than 12 hours to ship a product to the final destination. And the temperature after 12 hours is still, from minus 21 to about minus 19. It's powerless. They only use cold pack at the top of the cold container. That's quite an achievement. Yeah, they manage it very well. And actually in Taiwan, we are also using this, but there's only for ship to islands outside. Yeah, it's restricted usage. But I think that for some of the small startup, this is quite a good choice for them if they do not want to invest a lot of, frozen truck. And for urban co-logistic, for a package like this, backpack, it can be used. And, the functionality is also very good. For frozen, they can, maintain at minus 12 for 4 hours and chilled 7 degrees for 8 hours. So, they also have self-managing via Wi-Fi, etc. Yeah, we are almost done. So traceability, is to maintain the food quality and safety. And in Taiwan, we have two systems, a Taiwan Good Agriculture Product, and the other is for Eco Product. They're different. And, this is the tag, so traceability is like a tag of a produce, and it shows the history of the produce for consumer to judge the value in price and food quality safety. So for consumer, when you go to the supermarket, you just scan it and you see, the back history of the food, especially in temperature. So you can put all your data for the temperature and also for when you grow them, when you harvest them, etc. About the also the water quality, etc. So with this two-dimensional barcode, a consumer, they can read them. So This is what we call the T gap, and I think that many of the countries they have the system. But in Taiwan, that for this system you have to apply and pay some money. But some of the system, and they are when you pay the money, that's for each product. Okay, and they are also for the producer. So for the producer themselves, it fits all of their product is free. So the government expect the producers to have their own system, and for each of the individual product, they can have a more detailed traceability system to be installed. So T-gap is a full tracking system from growing, harvesting to processing and sell. So, but you need to pay for each product. So the other is what we call the QR code traceability system. So that's T-gap is one system. The QR code system is for a producer, individually, and it is free. Okay, it is free, but you have to. It's a self-claim. It means that the government usually do not, do the investigation. But for this system, but for T-gap, the government will go there, evaluate that, and you don't know when they are there. So for this system, it's more trustworthy. But for this is, you have to do it your own. But I think with some of the free and self-claim system, it is still pretty good. Something is better than nothing. Okay, at the end, I want to give you some application case, in Taiwan, for the information transparency, for coordination, and also for traceability. Yeah, this is what we mentioned at the beginning of the course. This is belong to some of the company. They are, they are all linked together, and the producer, supplier, distributor, and the company is doing the try to balance the demand and supply. So they, for the supplier, they have frequent notice from the channels about what to produce in what amount, okay, and at what time they will need that. And based on those information, they will talk with the producer that when and how much you have to grow this product. But in reality, it's not always that beautiful, right? When you say, well, I want you to grow cabbage for 1 acres, okay, are you going to have a full production or 90 or 70? You just don't know that because the agriculture is under the nature environment. You just don't know what is going to happen about the climate. Okay, so they have to look carefully about how much and when, and they are going to produce, and they have to try to find a balance between the demand and supply. And you might say, well, how you can do that? Well, if you know problem in advance long enough, it's always possible to manage that. If you were a sole producer, they cannot produce, what you need, and one you can outsource to others. Okay, and if you cannot supply that amount in a certain period of time, you can supply a little bit more later. It also can compensate for the market in some way. So actually, the company are doing that demand and supply, but that's only under their control. Well, ideally, if a country can manage that, or at least in some area they can manage the demand and supply, I think that would be a super idea. But it's very difficult to achieve that. Yeah, because of information opacity problem, and some of the producers, they just don't trust the system or the government. And for distributors, it's very labor intensive. okay, you need to, do a lot of work. So, they are doing a lot of autonomous system here. Yeah, so this is, the in the first one, they are doing the demand and supply. And as we see that the market demand, they drive the planting plans and plant growth status. They can, with that, they can estimate the harvest time and the amount. And if you have some of the oversupply, for example, if you grow too much and the demand is down and the price might collapse. And you can have unhappy producers and the sales production, they might have curtail their production and amount, and they to find alternative channels for the produce. And if you have under supply, that's also another problem. You grow too little and the demand or demand goes up, so the price surges, and there'll be a lot of unhappy customers. And don't think that the retailer can gain a lot. No, I don't think so. Yeah, and the alternative producers and market strategy, you have to do a lot of automation. So when the time comes and the demand and supply uh, do not match, that is a lot of problems. So it's always better that you can manage them in advance. So actually, we are managing the idea from push to pull, and the pull means that your production is by demand, not by what you want to produce. Okay, so they need a lot of coordination between production scheduling and the supply chain supply. And the second here, okay, the second here, it is the company is using AI and autonomy, to manage that. Because in Taiwan, that a lot of retailer, they are how to say that, they are not very big, so what they order is a bucket. Okay, it's not a pallet, it's a bucket, a few buckets. And in the bucket, they have still a lot of variety of the produce. So they have to determine the delivery sequence and amount. And for the truck dispatching, loading sequencing, picking, slotting, and then the inventory storage, it all trace back. Okay, so a push strategy is always better, but it's very difficult. If you don't manage that, that's almost impossible. And the AI can determine the loading sequences, which govern truck routes and the unloading sequences. And AI and autonomous robot, they can help the picking process and improve the efficiency and save the labor by 2/3. So this is what they are really doing. This is their picking station, and they put their vegetable here. This is the ready to pick storage place, and they use Kiva. This is what they use in Amazon. So they are using the same system for the picking of the vegetables here. And for each of the bucket here, they belong to one kind of the product. But for this bucket are to ship out to retailer. In each bucket, they have a little bit more combination, from 2 or 3 or 5, or of the bucket, because they have a different assortment of the product. And the picking units, they range from one item in the plastic to many, and they are using the autonomous robot plus the computer-aided picking system for the purpose. Yeah, I think that this is what I want to share. Okay, and Tarima Kashi. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is about time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Sai, for your presentation. It's very interesting for us, I think. Okay, guys, in my summary, Professor Sai talking about the challenging for us in the agriculture, because the important issue here is the fresh food from the farm to the fork. And yeah, some of the point here is food loss is becoming a big issue in the developing countries, because there is a difference uh, between consumption and production in loss of food in the developed and developing countries. I think it's interesting issues to be discussed later on. And also, Professor Saiz also mentioned about the cold chain and also storage, cold storage from the farms to the fork. Some of the method is pre-cooling. Quite interested about the vacuum cooling. Maybe we can talking about that later on with you guys. And yeah, traceability is also mentioned by Professor Tsai. Traceability is, I think, for you guys, now it's a digital era. I think you have to capability to develop the apps of application to traceable to trace the safety or quality of food from the farm, not only in the retails or restaurant, but also track to the back of the farms. And the next point is about the energy, because it consumes a high energy, as you mentioned, Professor Sai. So I think you guys, you have to explore more how to make it becoming efficient and lowest, because high cost is becoming the big issue for the company, especially for the startup company. Uh, yeah, it's our challenge. And in the end, Professor Sai also mentioned us about the solution. He gives the at least two solutions here: how to make a coordination between stakeholders, um, let's say from the farmer and the supplier, and so on. And the second solution is AI and autonomy. Okay, I think it's a summary of this presentation. Okay, guys, I think you have a lot of questions for the professor side to discuss with him. Okay, I will open first part, first section to you. Anyone have a question?
Good morning, sir. Namaste from India. This is Dr. Bibu from India.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor, for your nice presentation. Sir, I have one query regarding Indian context, sir. As we have perishable products like fruits and vegetables, as well as fishery products, and also dairy products. So, can it possible to make cryopreservation through cold chain management, sir?
Again, your next question is to make what centralized?
Sir, once again, I repeat my query. Sir, as India is a humid and tropical climate-based country, sir. Sir, we have perishable products like vegetables, fruits, fisheries, and also dairy products. So, is it possible to manage cold chain management through cryopreservation or some other suitable strategies? Please, sir, guide, sir.
So you are talking about manage different product or?
Yes, sir. I am talking about various farm products, as you have mentioned about farm to fork, as well as you have mentioned about various type of cold chain management. Sir,
Yes.
can it be possible to take cryopreservation or some other suitable strategies to preserve these perishable products like fruits, vegetables, fisheries, and also dairy products?
Oh, dairy product. Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, and they are quite similar and common in the principle. It's just, for the coal logistic, a different product is like a different person. They have different ID. What do I mean by ID is that they require different temperature control for the best result. And also, if dairy product, they also have a certain humidity control. So we have to keep it there, for the best result. Yeah, you are right about that. I think that the similar idea can be applied to many produces, but you have to know about the specific character of the produce. Even in vegetables, the temperature required can range by over than 10 degrees. Some are should be kept at like a 12 degree. Some have to be kept at about 0. For cherry, they have to kept very low, but for like a banana, they have to be, 12 or 13 degrees. So there's also a big range. So when we talk about, coal supply chain, it's just an idea, but for each specific product, they have to be kept and managed differently. So this is about knowledge and technology. I hope that I can answer your question.
Thank
And
you so
dairy
much, sir.
product, the same. Yeah, dairy product is the
Because
same.
India and Indonesia, both contexts are same, sir. So I am happy that you have properly explained my query, sir. We have also promoted zero energy cool chamber, sir, for the preservation of the vegetables and fruits here, sir, and also some technology developed by Indian Institute of Technology, sir. So definitely we will collaborate because you have suggested many uh, uh, innovative ideas for the preservation, sir. Thank you and grateful. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bibu Santos from India.
Thank you
Hope
so much.
the question will be make you satisfied, and he also hope Professor Sai to have a conversation with him. Okay, another participants. Maybe we have you have a question. You can raise your hand. Hello. Okay. Professor, I'm
Yes.
quite interest to vacuum cooling that you mentioned before. So is it because you mentioned about the efficiency in cost and also in energy. So how can you please to explain to us, especially to me, because I think it's also interesting for the participant, how to compare the method and also the technology, or also the technology between the efficiency, cost, and also the effectivity in the cold chain process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, energy is a big issue for the coal supply chain, and some are arguing that, even though cold chain is good, important for the food, but they are just consuming too much energy. But, what they didn't look into is, if we have food lost, they are going to create even more greenhouse gas. As we mentioned at the beginning of the course, that about 1/3 of the food is lost, And the food production itself, food production actually is the largest greenhouse gas, producer industry, among all the industry. So, it also accounts for about 30% of the whole greenhouse gas. So if we can reduce, the quantity of food loss, during the fresh food, value chain, actually we are reducing the greenhouse gas. That's one thing. And when we come to the practical side, how to reduce the energy. I mentioned about insulation. Insulation of the truck and insulation of the warehouse. These are also quite important because if your efficiency is not good enough, and then you are losing a lot of money. Okay, so efficiency for the cold storage of the truck come from many two things. One is what I mentioned about installation. So the installation had to be good, and also the freezing equipment itself. Some has higher efficiency, especially nowadays. The efficiency has improved, in some way, and also you have to look into the problem that because actually I'm also doing a project for a company. We are trying to find out the best composition of the chiller. What they are doing is the chiller, not the cooler, but they are chilling the water for the air conditioning and the production. So we are finding the best combination of fixed frequency and the variable frequency. So it's a different combination because different equipment, they have their best function. We have to make their COP value, which is what I say. It's you can think of that as the energy efficiency, because the energy will come with this curve, and we have to make them at the top range. So there are some of the something that we can do with that to make all the equipment in the top efficiency. So there are two things, as I mentioned. One is about the installation of the storage. The other is about uh, the chilling equipment, the freezing equipment. Yeah. So if we can make them in a high efficiency, actually we can save a lot of energy. Yeah, practically. And of course, try to reduce your food loss also from the management, from the software. Yeah, warehouse management system can also really help. Yeah, if you can, manage the batch size, etc. It's also important, to manage the expiration date. They are also important for companies, not to reduce their food loss. Because there's one company told me that, they are not, the system, sometimes the system works well, but not the human. The one company told me that, well, the system tell the worker to pick this specific product, but they are just too lazy because it might be placed too high, or they might have three stacks, three layers of storage, so they had to pick from the inside, and they are just too lazy. They just pick from the what is near to them. And after a few months, what is inside, what is in the third layer, they can never be picked. And those become, they have passed the market date. So, the company have to compensate for the owner of the produce by a lot of money. So they learn some lesson that, even though you have a good management system, you are not sure because the product looks exactly the same by different batches. and they have different expiration dates. So you have to make sure that the worker know that even though it takes a lot of time to reshelf the product, they had to do that. Yeah, they had to do that. So at the beginning, I talk about why there's a breakage in the supply chain. Some is about the system, but some is about the knowledge of the workers and their willingness. So we had to educate them that when they become lazy, of doing reshelving, or they have their niggers of doing their work, about the cold food, it's going to create a lot of damage to the company. So they have to know that they have to be more cautious and serious about how they work. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your answer, Professor. Actually, I
Yeah.
have another question for you. It's very interesting. Oh, welcome, Mr. Professor Kunchara.
Oh, okay. Good job. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Nice to meet
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
I'm- Thank you for your class. Very
Yeah.
excellent.
Sure. Sure. It's my great honor and pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. May I have a question for you, Prof?
Exactly, sure. Oh, Professor.
Yeah. According to your experience, during the supply chain of any perishable good, which activity is the most critical for the food loss?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean to
A unique case for each country. So the technology or the management to be selected to the case is unique also. So what is your recommendation for
you mean
this
for
problem?
Indonesia or
Yeah, maybe as general,
okay in general? Yeah.
experience, and then what is your experience to the Indonesian case, if you have?
Yeah. A few years ago, I was there and participate at your workshop, for the food cold chain, and I was really uh, amazed at a lot of Indonesian company. They are really eager for the cold food chain, and I think that fundamentally, and after looking a lot of cases in Taiwan as well, I think that there are some part. One is the human part. The human part is about, I think that most of the manager, they should have the idea of what the the food culture should be, and also the food safety. And but a lot of workers, they might lack the knowledge. So I think that the education is very important, especially in a company. We need to educate the workers that why, not just tell them that, well, you should do what I ask, but because in some places there, we might not write in the manual or the processes, but when they are doing the work, they must know that what they are doing is very important. They have to follow the regulation and process, company set for that. And in order for them to follow carefully, I think that enough education is very important. We have to tell them that why, if some of the food are neglected, and they neglect it for even 20 minutes or something, it's going to deteriorate the quality of the food. And some of the things that they should not do in order to avoid the supply chain, the cold supply chain breakage. So one thing is about the human side. So we need to have good education for them. And the other is about hardware. So, the company should have a good hardware system and look into, especially nowadays, we are looking for to reduce the greenhouse gas. And so, as I mentioned that we should find a good installation material to build the warehouse and the truck. And also we need to have good high efficiency of the chillers, to compressors, for the operation of the cold storage and also for the truck as well. So that's about the hardware and also the software side. And I think that nowadays with AI technology, AIoT, etc., if we can have some AIoT in some strategic positions and we get all the data, we can either monitor the system to see if they are in good shape of the temperature, and we can do some calculation, AI estimation, to see that when there might have some breakage of the temperature, etc. So I think that these are my suggestion for a company.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Kune. Once
Yeah.
more, yeah. In another side, when we are talking about the journey of any perishable product from farm to plate, from farm to plate, yeah. Is there any concern about the behavior of the end consumer for this? Yeah, because in your material you already mentioned to us that there are some possible loss during the harvesting time till to the delivery, and the end of the day to the consumer from farm to plate. Yeah, I'm worried if technically or technologically is this well prepared from farm to the consumer, but before the consumer consume the product or the good, there is critical handling from the consumer, end consumer. I mean, yeah, maybe this is one of issue when we are talking about food waste during the food supply chain at this moment.
Yeah.
What is your
Yeah, you are right about that. And this is a really a challenging question. I don't think I can answer them very well. But I think that for the consumer side, it is all affected by the culture of the society. Yeah, different culture, or even by individual families, when you were how to say that, your habit is not good enough. You are wasting a lot of food because you might forget something. Okay, you are too busy. It happened to me as well. I know the problem, but I know it happened to me. And sometimes, when I buy something back, I just forgot I bought them, and they are expired when I thought of them. And it's all about personal problem. So I think that we should raise the question to the society and ask most people to be more aware of the problem, because I think that everybody, they, before I read the material, I didn't know, well, I might have lost so much, so I think that we should get the attention of the society. And in some of the community, I can only say in some of the community, they are sharing food. But there are some legal problem there because in Taiwan, if you want to give people some food that expire, you will be punished. So even though those food are still okay for eating, but you cannot give away. And so there are some of the regulation that might hinder that. And sanitary problem also, sanitary of the food, safety, that is a lot of issues. So it's hard to share. So I know that in some of the society, they have little community, they trust each other and they share food. Yeah, even in Western country, like I'm now in Netherlands, I think that some of the community they are sharing food. And in Germany, I saw some of the community they are sharing food, but it's only in a valley or something. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how to say that. It's a very difficult, and you might also answer the question. Do we have some idea?
I'm thinking, yeah, because in our society, at the moment, especially, there are remaining serious problem. Yeah. But fortunately, we now, at least as what you mentioned to us, we promote to our close society to minimize or to mix zero food loss or food waste in our authority. I mean, in our house, in our office, and etc. Yeah, I think this
That's
is
pretty good.
the real action we can promote to this. To make sure that all of the effort from farm to consumer is finally execute 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
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 Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Kune.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that you mentioned about something very important that we always should, start from our own.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the consumer side, we cannot ask others to do that, but we should start our own and propagate the idea to others and tell them that this is a serious problem. So you are doing a very good thing. Yeah, a good model. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Professor
Thank you.
Kunchal.
Thank you.
Okay, for you participants, maybe you have a question for Professor Tsai, or even for Professor Kunchal, maybe. Hello, guys. Still awake? Okay, Professor, one more question for you.
Okay.
I believe that you're talking about the traceability for the quality and safety food. I believe that it's already applied in Taiwan. So can you please to explain or tell us about the challenge and opportunity or the benefits after you applied the traceability technology or apps? Thank you.
You mean to tell about what in Taiwan or?
In Taiwan,
Okay.
is it already applied there? The traceability program? Okay.
The two system, the T-tab and the other is what they call the QR code. You can refer to last few pages of my presentation, and the T-gap has been applied for many years. Yeah, and for each product you have to apply. The government will give you a QR code. So when the consumer scan them, they can get all the information, from the product is grown or produced, yeah, and to the final, sales and all the time, and when you harvest them, and when you do the sanitation, etc., and also the temperature, when it is required. So it is it is managed by the government. And the other, but for each of them, you need to go through a serious process, and a lot of advisory company or organization are helping producer to do that, but they charge, they charge. And the other is what they call is also excuse me, the QR code system. And for the QR code system, actually it is free, but it is owned by an individual producer or a company. So if you are a company or if you are a planter or producer, you can apply a free QR code. And that QR code, when you scan, it will go to it's like the government give you a free website. Okay, when you scan it, you can show your website. They have a standard, like you can upload some photos, write some text in there. You can have self-claim. When we go to Japan, there we see that a lot of farmers, they are on their produce, they tag something on there, they self-claim of the product. It is safe, it is good, etc. And I think it also attract a lot of customer as well. And in Taiwan, the QR code is managed by the government. And if you have your ID or if you are a company, you can apply that and it is free. And I think that they both are pretty good. They have different usage. Yeah, they have different usage.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer. Okay, guys, the last opportunity for you. If you have if you have some question for our guest lecturer, our invited lecturer. Okay. Yeah. If not, we're going to another section. I will give it back to the Professor Kuchar. Maybe any? Oh no. Okay, I will give it back to the MC. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have another agenda?
Yeah, okay. So once again, thank you so much for Professor Sai and Mr. Wahyudin. It is an awesome and thoughtful session. So after this, we will give the appreciation certificate to Professor Sai. So maybe the operator can help me to show the certificate. Okay. So
Okay,
this
thank you.
is
Thank you. Yeah.
a pleasure. So this is the appreciation certificate from Professor Eni Haramayani as the Dean of Agricultural Technology Department to Professor MuhTsai. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. And please say express my gratitude to the Dean Haramayani. Yeah.
Any Professor Any.
Any.
Yeah,
Professor
yeah.
Any.
Yeah, actually, one is regard from her, Prof. Kune. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe after this we will give the appreciation certificate to Mr. Wahyudin. So Mr. Wahyudin, please.
Okay. Thank you. 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 Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the operator, please show again the certificate to Mr. Wahyudin. Okay, so this is the certificate for Mr. Wahyudin that will be given by the director of the 5th Smart Agroindustry Summer Course Program, Mr. Makbul Hajat, Sarjana Teknologi Pertanian, Magister of Engineering, PhD, and this will be given by Simulans. Thank you so much, Mr. Wahyudin.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Yudin.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. After this, we will continue to documentation. Participant who don't have problem can turn on the camera.
Take picture.
Yeah. We will take a picture first. And for the participant who don't have problem with the device and signal, may turn on the camera.
Okay, I will count from 3. 3, 2, 1. Again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. I would like to remind to the operator to stop the recording.